Live from Studio 1396, Columbus, Ohio, I am A.J. England, and this is The Late Lap. Folks, I couldn't be more excited to talk about some big old things in the world of racing. You know, when it comes to racing, when it comes to cars, we've got a lot of things to celebrate. And, whew, am I excited. You know, over the last couple of weeks, the majority of our energy was thrown into Memorial Day weekend, where we talked about mostly racing. Racing. Whew, makes you out of breath. But I always say, it's not really a racing show. It's about cars, it's about Americana, it's about the economy, and of course, with that comes a huge chunk of, auto racing and competitive spirit themes. And boy, oh boy, do we have something huge to talk about today. Ladies and gentlemen, gearheads and Hellcat diehards, welcome back. You know, your unofficial pit stop for everything with horsepower. Ooh, this one's a good one. The horsepower, personality, and just enough tire smoke to make your HOA nervous. Tonight, we're not talking about a new electric vehicle that looks like a bar of soap or any kind of weird crossover with a name that sounds like a yoga pose. No. We're talking about something that rumbles, something that growls, something that flips the bird to fuel economy like it's doing a burnout in a Whole Foods parking lot. I'm talking about the 2026 Dodge Durango Hellcat. That's right, folks. It's back. Just when you thought the V8 was headed the way of blockbuster, Dodge kicks in the door, throws down a 710 horsepower piece like it's a mic at a rap battle, and says, "We're not done yet." Now, Dodge has been teasing this final curtain call for years. First, it was the Charger and the Challenger with their Cali editions. Then the Durango was supposed to bow out gracefully after 2021, leaving behind only fond memories and some seriously traumatized rear tires. But here we are in 2025, and the big bad Durango is still alive. Not only alive, it's supercharged and angry. The GT model is still doing its thing with a 3.6-liter Pentastar V6, solid, respectable, like a gym teacher with a heart of gold. But let's be real. You didn't click this video for 295 horsepower. Step up to the RT trim, and you get the 5.7-liter Hemi V8, pushing 360 horsepower, 390 foot-pound of torque. That's enough to move a family of 5, a trailer, and still have room for your midlife crisis. But the crown jewel? The fire-breathing dragon under the hood of the 2026 Durango Hellcat. We're talking 6.2 liters of supercharged lunacy, 710 horsepower, and a 0 to 60 time of 3.5 seconds. In an SUV, that's quicker than some Ferraris, and you can bring the dog, the groceries, and 3 screaming kids with you wherever you go. Honestly, this thing doesn't drive, it storms the castle. And Dodge knows exactly what it's doing. They could have called it quits. They could have slapped a heritage badge on the vehicle or a plug-in crossover. They could have called it a day. But instead, they kept the Hellcat dream alive one more year. One more battle cry. One more chance to own the streets and let your neighbors know exactly when you leave for work. This is crazy. Look, the Durango platform dates back to 2011. This thing's been around longer than TikTok, but it slaps. It's old school in all of the right ways. And that's what makes it so damn lovable. It's the loudest guy at the party, the last one to leave the bar, the only dad at the PTA meeting with launch control. Let's not ignore the big looming elephant in the garage, the EV future. Stellantis is moving toward the STLA large platform, and sooner or later, the Hellcat V8 will have to ride off into the sunset. probably while doing a smoky four-wheel drift. Write that down. But until then, until the Hemi gets dragged kicking and screaming into that good electric night, we get to enjoy it one more time. We get to party with one of the last real muscle SUVs left standing. And it's not just about the speed, it's about the attitude, the noise, the pure, unfiltered ridiculousness of slapping 700 plus horses to a family hauler and calling it Tuesday. Here's to Dodge for giving us one more taste of the good stuff before the EV avalanche washes over us. And for reminding us that, yeah, there is still room in this world for 8 cylinders, forced induction, and full throttle attitude. That's your car of the day. We don't know how much longer the Hellcat lives, but in 2026, it definitely ain't dead yet. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to go figure out how to justify a $90,000 SUV to my accountant. And maybe one more burnout in the Costco parking lot for good measure. You know, I could just see doing that. You would take the car and you would drive all over, you know, the world, the earth, North America, all the way up to the Dakotas. And the Dakotas, they await World of Outlaws sprints charging up north. They were just in Chillicothe, Ohio. That's my hometown, at Atomic Speedway last week. But this week, North Dakota, you've waited long enough. The stars of the World of Outlaws NOS Energy Drink Sprint Car Series are finally coming your way. And they're bringing noise, horsepower, and a championship fight hotter than an exhaust pipe in July. This weekend, the greatest show on dirt takes its first green flag in the Peace Garden State for 2025. Lighting up 2 fan-favorite venues, River City Speedway in Grand Forks on May 30th, and Red River Valley Speedway in West Fargo, May 31st. And while the entire field is stacked with talent, momentum, and hometown grit, one name inevitably echoes a little louder through the pit lanes and the grandstands right now. That's David Gravel. I'm going to set the stage if you're a more casual tuner into the world of dirt. Let's set that stage, but make no mistake, Gravel's playing the lead role. River City Speedway is one of those tracks that lives up to its hype. The kind of place where elbows up driving meets split-second decisions and the crowd hangs on every slide job. It's tight, it's fast, it's chaotic, and it's perfect. World of Outlaws announcer Johnny Gibson once called it his favorite of the 400-plus tracks he's visited. That's not just flattery, it's fact. And the stats back it up. North Dakota legend Donnie Schatz has practically written his racing resume there with a dozen Outlaw wins and an average finish that would make any team owner drool. 2.8 over 33 races. This year, the spotlight broadens. David Gravel is your current points leader, and he's already got 2 River City wins to his name. The number 2 big game motorsport machine has become a precision rocket ship in 2025, with 8 wins, 25 top 10s, and 15 podiums in just 25 races. Gravel isn't surviving the tour, he's setting the bar. Can he add another River Cities trophy to his growing collection? Or will it be someone like Logan Schuart, Carson Macedo, or Gio Scelzi breaking out the broom? Recent memory says, anything's possible. Then they head to Red River Valley, a staple speedway, for a new chapter. That's Saturday's stop in West Fargo, and it's just as meaningful. This weekend will mark the 70th time the Outlaws have turned laps there, making it the 8th most visited venue in series history. Schatz has 6 wins in Red River Valley, but that doesn't mean he's the only story. Macedo won here last year during the weekend's sweep. Gravel has come close with a pair of runner-up finishes. And don't sleep on the locals. North Dakota and Minnesota-based drivers from NOSA will be out in force. Names like Mark Dobmeyer, Jade Hastings, and Nick Umnau have been tearing up local circuits and know these tracks like the back of their gloves. Dobmeyer has yet to win a World of Outlaws race at his home track, but he has knocked on the door a couple of times. And for the rookies, this weekend is a battlefield of first impressions. Chris Windom, Hunter Schurenberg, and Connor Morell have all shown flashes of brilliance lately. Windom is fresh off his best career finish, second at Atomic, And Schurenberg is rising fast after a top 4 last weekend. And of course, we have to talk about the point leader, Gravel, and who might derail it. Gravel's stats are absurd. He's led the most laps, won the most races, and collected the most quick times this year. But Red River Valley remains one of the few tracks where he's yet to stand on the top step. Could this be the weekend he checks another one off the list? Standing in his way, a hard-charging Michael Cofield, a red-hot Logan Schuchart, and the ever-dangerous Carson Macedo, all within 200 points of that lead. Macedo's back-to-back sweeps in North Dakota speak volumes. So does Schuchart's recent form and Kofoid's 3 wins. Even more drivers, Sheldon Holdenchild, Giovanni Scelzi, and Riku Abreu have had glimpses of victory. And Donnie Schatz returning home is always a threat with the crowd behind him. Gravel may be the favorite, but no one's running away with anything in this series. This is dirt. This is war. This is North Dakota. So whether you're pulling for a hometown hero like Schatz, a young gun like Wyndham, or just waiting to see if Gravel keeps rewriting those record books, one thing I promise you is guaranteed. This weekend will be loud, it will be fast, it will be everything sprint car fans love about the greatest show on dirt. Grab your gear, pack a cooler, charge your phone. You're going to need it when those 410s fire off. From Grand Forks to West Fargo, the dirt's about to fly. And if you're local, you can get your tickets Friday, May 30th at River City Speedway and Saturday, May 31st at Red River Valley Speedway. If you can't make it in person, stream every lap live on Dirt Vision. Let's go racing, North Dakota. You know, for the most part, we talk about one of two things. I either share a story where it kind of turns into a promotion, or I give you a little bit of an opinion. And that's what we're going to hit next, is a little bit of opinions. You see, Tesla, the automobile, the Tesla doxing has reached its peak stupidity. And CNN reporter Chris Cillizza's bumper paid the price. Okay, this one, it had me doing double takes, like a pedestrian watching a Tesla do a 0 to 60 in 3 seconds with no engine noise. I want to talk about the former journalist for CNN, Chris Cillizza, who just wanted to watch his son play soccer and left with a politically weaponized bumper sticker slapped on the back of this Tesla. It read, and I quote, "Musk is a Nazi." First of all, let's get this out of the way. Chris Cillizza didn't write that. He didn't post it. He didn't even know it was there until after the game. Someone taped it to his bumper like they were part of a morality police at a kid's soccer tournament. Let that sink in. A man can't even park his damn electric car at a suburban sports complex without getting unsolicited commentary on geopolitics taped to his trunk. Here's the real kicker. Chris is not even some rabid Elon Musk disciple. He literally bought the car years ago when owning a Tesla meant you were a Birkenstock wearing granola munching polar bear hugging liberal. You know, back when buying an EV meant you were saving the planet, not signaling allegiance to a tech billionaire who tweets like he's trying to get banned on purpose. And now the same car gets you labeled a fascist by the left? You can't make this stuff up, and you can't win with either party. Cillizza's right. We are completely off the rails. We've taken the absurdity of political tribalism and duct taped it onto our tailgates. We've gone from, I disagree with you, to, let me vandalize your private property while you're watching your kid play sports. All in the name of some moral superiority that, frankly, has no idea how hypocritical it looks in broad daylight. To the person who slapped that sign on his Tesla, know that you're part of an army, and you are the problem. You didn't hurt Elon Musk. You didn't strike a blow for social justice. You just harassed a guy trying to eat his nuggets in peace. Because let's not forget, people went after him for that too. Let's be very clear. Teslas are cool. They're fast. They're the reason every other automaker is even in the EV race. And if you've watched enough of my show, you know I'm back and forth on if I'm even a fan of the EV race. But Elon didn't invent a fucking electricity. He did Sure damn well make it sexy, though. Tesla's the Daytona 500 of electric mobility. If you own one, you're part of the reason Ford, General Motors, and everybody else has had to stop sleeping on the auto market. If you think vandalizing someone else's car makes you a hero, it doesn't. It makes you a fucking punk, a coward, a human Facebook comment section with arms. Grow up. Not everything you see in a parking lot is a protest sign waiting to happen. Sometimes it's just a dad with a fast car and a folding chair. Just pisses me off, you know? You want to talk about how great and cool cars are, and it becomes a political nightmare. I see in our comments section, my good friend Dujanay Bland from the Not Bland Show. You can check him out there and regularly on Competition Plus's Power Hour. Good to see you, my friend. We're all wild and riled up tonight, but that one just kind of pissed me off, you know? But I digress. Jim France, Sonoma, and the missed shot that could have helped NASCAR win. I want to get one thing straight right off the line. This story was first reported by The Athletic. Credit where that is due. They unearthed one of the more fascinating what could have been moments in this season. The kind of story that blends backroom strategy, public perception, and the ever-evolving tension between leadership and competition integrity. In case you missed it, NASCAR's CEO and co-owner Jim France was this close to funding a car for the NASCAR Cup Series race at Sonoma Raceway in July. The plan? A Spire Motorsports prepared entry driven by road course ace Jack Aitken, who also happens to drive for France's IMSA team, Action Express Racing. It was practically a done deal, until the garage caught wind and the backlash bubbled over. The concern? Perception. Specifically, the perception of conflict of interest. Once the Athletic started poking around and asking questions, the plug was quietly pulled. Now, let's pause for a second and breathe. Because what's happening here is far more nuanced than some paint-by-number scandal or smoking gun conspiracy. This isn't Penske-gate 2024 or 2025, where penalties are handed out like Halloween candy. There's no race manipulation, no crew chief mystery, no post-race teardown debacle. Just a respected executive who wanted to invest in the sport literally by backing a legitimate race entry through a third-party team. So what's the problem? And more importantly, was there really one? The Jim France factor is huge, and I want to talk about him. Quietly, methodical. Just like Jim. He's often operating behind the scenes. But let's not get it twisted. This man is as foundational to modern-day NASCAR as restrictor plates and green-white checkers. He's been steadying force since taking over after Brian France's exit, helping the sport navigate through tumult, a pandemic, and a much-needed rebrand. The guy has credibility, integrity, a backbone, and he's made of reinforced steel tubing, metaphorically, of course. You don't hear horror stories about him melting a competition or throwing his weight around like a bored oligarch. He's earned the benefit of the doubt, hasn't he? So when it comes out that Jim France wanted to fund a Spire entry for a non-chartered road course race, my first thought wasn't conflict, it was cool. Jack Aitken is no slouch either. He's a real deal road racer. And Spire? They've got momentum. The organization's been adding technical alliances left and right and growing smarter every year since entering Cup full-time. This wouldn't have been some backmarker publicity stunt. This would have been a real entry with a real shot to compete. And let's be honest, the field could use the help. NASCAR needs more cars. Every time we talk about growing the sport, adding manufacturers, increasing market share, it all starts with one thing: more competitive entries. Full fields, stories, intrigue, unexpected players. NASCAR isn't Formula One where 20 cars and 3 winners dominate for a decade. Their appeal has always been the grinders, the dreamers, the upstarts, and yeah, the surprise one-offs. God knows in my sport, NHRA, we would have eaten this alive if Glenn Cromwell started his own team. Nobody would have been unhappy, even if they won. It would have been so cool. So what's wrong with Jim France, one of the sport's most accomplished leaders, wanting to be part of that energy? It's not like he was parachuting a France Motorsports #1 Ford into the field with $1 million engine advantage. This was going to be a Spire car, Spire crew, Spire logistics. According to co-owner Jeff Dickerson, France wasn't getting a good guy deal. He was paying the same price as anyone else would, and I believed them. In other words, he wasn't gaming the system. He was supporting it. And we stopped it? I don't know if that we is a colloquial. Is it us? Is it the media? Is it the fans? You know who didn't stop it? Mr. France. Perception versus progress. Here's where I get fired up. Because yes, perception does matter. It matters a lot. This is a sport still licking its wounds from multiple officiating controversies, sponsorship implosions, and more than a few executive shakeups. But there's a fine line between protecting the sport's image and overcorrecting into paralysis. If Jim France supporting a third-party entry is the scandal we're worried about in 2025, then we're either too sensitive or too scared, and maybe both. We love to chant in all forms of auto racing, grow the sport, make it bigger. But it seems like every time somebody tries to actually do it, someone who already owns a chunk of it, we panic like he's sneaking around the rulebook. This wasn't a rules infraction. It was a vote of confidence. We need more of those. Meanwhile, Penske, we can't pretend this is the only ownership entanglement of the year if we're calling out conflicts. God knows I spent 2.5 episodes last week talking about that. And you know what it did? It drew new eyes to INDYCAR. And I don't believe that's what happened. They didn't do it intently. I think it was a remarkable set of circumstances last week in Indianapolis. But I'll tell you, there's men and women all over the United States who watched their first INDYCAR race because of that scandal. So sometimes the bad news is a good news. The fact that Penske is both a team owner and INDYCAR owner, and in the free time chairman of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, was just accepted. There shouldn't have been a double standard. They're serving their punishment, and so would Jim France if he did anything wrong. The way I see it, we need more people like Jim France stepping in to support entities. We need more cup teams. We need more teams in every form of racing. I guarantee you at your local go-kart track, there's not enough cars. Because sports aren't saved by tradition alone. They're saved by participation. Jim France was not, once again, gaming that system. He was feeding it. And if our own insecurity about optics keeps us from letting that happen, then we're in a real mess. The truth is, Sonoma might have lost something special. A France-backed entry, a promising driver, a mid-pack team taking a big swing. It's those moments that make the sport tick. And it's those stories, the ones that almost happen, that remind us how easily progress gets squashed when fear leads the conversation. So here's to Jim France. Good on you for wanting to be more than just a suit in the tower, for actually wanting to get your hands dirty, and your wallet too. Maybe next time, hey everybody, let's let the man race. Because NASCAR needs more cars, more action, and a whole lot less fear of its own. Oh man, you know, we talk so much about INDYCAR, and we're going to again here in a moment to talk about Detroit. But with Mr. France, I just thought it was so unfortunate. You know, he's been so good. It's so hard to find something where he's done something wrong. Other members of the France family are respected. Some are, some aren't. But Ben Kennedy is loved. He's a France. I just think that people should have given him the benefit of the doubt. When you see a trend, NASCAR Nation will uproar. They wouldn't have allowed it to get out of hand. It would have moderated its own issues. I hope they get the chance to do it again. You know, all the talk about open wheel lately, I'm turning into a real reporter. I'm talking about it so often. And I've really enjoyed getting to grow through a new fan of people that care for the open wheel. course, my hometown hero was Bobby Rahal, and his son was Graham Rahal, who I got to spend a little bit of time just here and there while working for John Force. So it's easy to root for him and be excited. And they're back to a street course where maybe he'll do just fine. But, when you really look at things, I say it's about time we just say, give the trophy to King Palou. All roads out of Indianapolis now point north to the bumpy, tight, turbocharged streets of downtown Detroit. And while 27 hungry drivers will hit the track this weekend looking for glory, every eye in the paddock is laser locked on one man. Once again, King Alex Palou. Be honest, he's not just leading the championship, he's leaving no doubt about who owns the 2025 NTT INDYCAR Series. After a commanding victory on Sunday in the 108th running of the Indianapolis 500, Palou now holds a colossal 112-point lead in the standings. More than 2 full race wins ahead of his closest challenger. I think if I were him, I would go on vacation. But that's not how him or Chip Ganassi Racing do their business. He's riding a 3-race win streak now, and as Alan Bestwick joked on Monday's 500 banquet, even if Scott Dixon bought him a 5-week vacation, the Spaniard might still return with the championship lead. At this point, it is more than domination. Use the word. This is a dynasty. The track now, Detroit, it's a concrete canyon. But here's the thing. The Chevrolet Detroit Grand Prix is no victory parade. It's gnarly. 10 turns, 1.645-mile street course, and it is unforgiving, unpredictable, and known for producing chaos. Tight corners, slippery surfaces, minimal margin for error. Last year's debut on the new layout produced late race drama and strategic curveballs. And history gives the rest of the field hope. The last 3 Indy 500 winners have averaged 14.3 after the following week in Detroit, often struggling with the whirlwind of media tours, sponsor meet and greets, and celebratory fatigue. Even King Palou, after winning in 2023 on this very course, finished 16th last year, leading only a single lap. So is this the moment the rest of the field gets their chance to catch up? I say yes. Let's start with Pato O'Ward, who's been rock solid for Arrow McLaren after finishing 3rd at Indy. The Mexican sensation now sits 2nd in the points. If anyone's due for a win, or at least capable of giving King Palou a headache, it's Pato. He's aggressive, he's fearless, and Detroit street course suits his style. Then there's Christian Lundgaard sneaking into the championship picture. He's 3rd in the standings. The Danish driver has been one of the breakout stories of the year, and his 7th place run at Indy keeps him in striking distance. Scott Dixon, the ageless legend, he can't be ignored anywhere, and he did win last year's Detroit race. A master class in tire conservation and strategy assisted him. And Dixon's not letting his teammate, Palou, run away with another title without a fight. Marcus Armstrong and Marcus Ericsson also show muscle here. They did last year, at least. They finished 3rd and 2nd, respectively. And Colton Herta, who snagged pole position in 23, and you've got a half dozen drivers with unfinished business. Wild cards, that's what makes this sport just as cool as stock car racing. They're everywhere. Detroit has a way of reshuffling the deck. It rewards creativity and punishes perfection. Mechanical failures, wall contact, pit strategy blunders, they're all so common on this compact layout. Drivers like Rahal, Roman Grosjean, and Felix Rosenqvist have shown speed this season, but are still chasing consistent results. A big finish in Detroit could ignite their season. And I don't want you to forget the 2 rookies. Nolan Siegel and Kyphon Simpson and company are still learning how to survive the rough and tumble world of IndyCar. Expect growing pains, but also flashes of brilliance. The on-track action begins Friday, May 30th with practice 1 at 3 p.m. Eastern on FS2. Saturday heats up with practice 2 and qualifying at noon, both on FS1. Sunday is race day. Warm-up rolls off at 9:30, followed by the 100-lap feature at 12:30 Eastern, live on Fox. That Fox, yes. The eyes of the racing world will be tuned in. The streets will be tight. The strategy will be ruthless. And while the crown still rests on King Palou, Detroit might just be battleground where someone finally throws a wrench in his royal run. Grab your drinks, your timing sheets, and your nerves. The Motor City is about to rumble. Tell me who you think's going to win. One of my favorite things right now is going off script, because the next one is casually automotive, but it's special and it's about community. A wheeled wonder rolls into Queens, New York. The Queen Public Library mobile bookmobile is open for everyone. Every once in a while, a story rolls across the finish line that makes you want to slam the brakes on the chaos, take a deep breath, and smile. Today, that story comes from Breezy Point, New York, where the Queens Public Library just fired up a 13-ton miracle on wheels that's about to change lives one page at a time. This isn't a bookmobile, it's a community lifeline, a technology hub, a classroom, a time machine, and a quiet moment of joy, all wrapped in purple vinyl and possibility. Last week, the Queens Public Library president and CEO, Dennis M. Walcott, alongside the New York City Council Minority Leader, Joanne Ariola, they cut the ceremonial ribbon on a brand new mobile library, one that will now park itself outside Breezy Point Cooperative Activity Center every Wednesday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. It's a big win for Breezy Point, a community with a rich history, and now no regular library access of its own. The nearest branch is 4.5 miles away. Not impossible, but in the city, not exactly easy either, especially for seniors, kids, and families juggling a million things. Now, the library will come to them. Not just any library. This one is built like a starship of literacy. We're talking 32 feet long, automotive wheelchair lift, retractable awning, skylight and solar technology, 2 Wi-Fi enabled TV screens, 12 laptops, a printer, Wi-Fi access, video game systems, a self-checkout machine, and over 5,000 books in inventory. That's not a vehicle, it's a dream. More than books, it's a movement. And this is special because I've always loved to read. You know, just here on the desk, I've got 3 books at least. It's special. I wonder if they've got Kyle Petty's book in the library on wheels. No matter how remote, no matter how flooded by history, or how overlooked, the chance to grow, learn, and connect is so important. I hope that you're sending your kids to their library, and I hope you're encouraging youth to read. Programs on board will include story time sessions, early literacy activities, STEM workshops, movies, arts, crafts, book discussions, digital services. And yes, you can sign up for your library card. So if you're in the Queens area, you better check out your materials and return them right there at the bus. In other words, it's everything a brick and mortar library does, but it parks where you are. And it's powered by people who care. Listen to this. None of this would have been possible without council member Joanne Ariola's office, which funded $500,000 for the vehicle, or the Queen Public Library's vision to meet people where they are. And shout out to Denise Lopresti of Breezy Point Cooperative and Community Board 14's Felicia Johnson, whose stories remind us just how powerful these vehicles can be. Johnson's story in particular hits home. Her mother, now 93, worked on a bookmobile. She remembers the joy of delivering not just books, but adventures to children's doorsteps. That's the legacy this new mobile library honors. And this is only the beginning. Queens Public Library says 2 more new mobile libraries are hitting the streets this year, targeting shelters, hospitals, and senior citizens. That's in addition to their current fleet, which will now focus on neighborhoods with branches closed for renovations. You know, I talk all the time about cars. This is one. This one is a car. It's a truck. It's a van. It's a machine. And yet it's a building. And it's supporting the community. This is why I say we're not a racing show. I love racing, but I love people more. And this is a really cool one. And a final shout out to the builders. This beautiful beast was built by the specialists at Farber Specialty Vehicles, based in Reynoldsburg, Ohio. For over 105 years, they've been turning steel and glass into rolling classrooms, clinics, offices, and of course, libraries. They don't just make bookmobiles, mobile command units, bloodmobiles, mobile health clinics, SWAT trucks, command centers, crisis centers, and more. Today, they just made a library on wheels, but they make them all. The bookmobile is simply the most cost-effective way to expand library service to communities, and Farber offers a full lineup of vehicles for every kind of outreach, from mobile cards to full browsing services with climate control, ADA lifts, remote wireless hubs, and more. If you can imagine it, they build it. You can check out more at farberspecialty.com. And that is going to do it for this episode of Late Lap. You know, I did an interview over the week at the J.P. Emerson radio show, and several times he called it late night, and I didn't have the heart to correct him. So tonight, a little bit of a nod to J.P. As I say at the end of every great show, be kind to yourself, be kind to others. Smile, be happy, and until then. And to our friends in the South, sea amable consigo mismo. Sea amable con otros. Sonría. Sea feliz. Hasta entonces. Cuídese. Take care and have a great weekend. Good night.